Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. As always, welcome. We are in episode 210, April 2025. The new Earth children of today. Join us with Spirit Baby stories that are real and personal conversations that will share a message of love, hope, connection, and truth. Let us meet the metaphysical and the spiritual and the science of life. And I welcome our special guest, Dr. Courtney Yurko. Did I not say your last name properly?
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is such an honor. I've been looking forward to connecting with you and finally like getting on some sort of platform to talk about Freebirth. So thank you so much.
I love it. And I'm just going to read a bit of her bio, and there's going to be more extensive bio in the notes. She's a wife, a free birth mama, visionary leader, entrepreneur, and dedicated advocate for holistic wellness. As the founder of Connection Health Center, she specializes in spinal health, supporting women through pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. A passionate advocate for free birth and sovereign birthing choices. Dr. Yurko empowers women to trust their bodies and reclaim autonomy in the birth process. As always, yes, this is exciting because I reached out. I always tell people like, how do we connect with people, right? And I'm in a private space. We connected with session space, but also I was like, I want you on my podcast. I'm like, what's going on? Because the free birth is like really incredible to me, and I want to go deeper into. There's a lot of things swimming through my mind. And it was nice to connect with you and your partner, like just the energy together and, spirit communication. And so free birth. This is a topic I always feel like I get excited by, and I know we know it's controversial. Like we just know it, right? And that's just how it is. But I feel like consciousness is expanding in such a way. And something I say, and I'm a broken record, I feel like, or a broken CD or a broken whatever. I keep saying, like, we need to pull in this level of conscious birthing because it is sovereign, it is one-on-one with the universe, with the energy of nature, without having the word I use is dabbling, so much dabbling, like the infant is born. And in other settings, there's too much intervention, even in well-meaning midwifery. There's too much like something's wrong. It's like, where's nature? And free birthing does offer an opportunity. I do feel like on an energetic, again, the conscious shift of like, this is how it is. And I do feel like that is the future of how we birth. And I know others may be like freaking out and scared, and it's okay because there are different levels of frequencies. But I again feel like we aim for that more. It's just the same thing with eating nature, natural foods. Like, yeah, you're going to eat junk, but it's like, can we keep opening and opening to that next level? So tell me more. Was free birth always in like your mind from the beginning, or?
I mean, no, quite frankly. I mean, I'm a chiropractor by trade. I grew up, taking they were called vitamins then. Now they're obviously called supplements, but my dad was in the realm of health. I grew up with three brothers, and I'm like, I am having no kids. And my parents would always love to let me know that I wanted no kids. And it wasn't obviously, I wasn't supposed to want kids until I met my partner, my soulmate, my husband, David. And I always knew that, I didn't want to have your typical modern obstetrics experience. I was not going to go in the hospital. I'm not a fan of hospitals unless it's a dire emergency. And it's more about sick care, not health care. And it's definitely not about bringing life into the world personally, me personally speaking. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe the birthing center. And then I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how if that feels right for me. And I started diving in before we conceived to find a midwife in the area. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, and there's not that many like midwives, honestly, not many great midwives. I've heard horror stories and, all the things. So I was like, I got to figure out what's going on, because this point in our lives is approaching. So I started reading the book called Portal, which is all about free birth and sovereign birthing. And Yolanda Norris Clark is such a OG in the realm of birth. She's had 10 children, all of them natural, all of them home births, eight of them free births. And I was just like so taken aback. I read a couple chapters and like my mind and my consciousness and all of my belief patterns and my thoughts and everything were just completely shattered. And I told my husband, I said, David, I mean, we're gonna free birth. I was like, you need to read this book. And he was a couple chapters in. He was like, there's no other way. We're gonna free birth,
I love
And so
that.
this was probably a month or two before we conceived in November of 23. And from then on, we were just like, this makes sense to us, Our grandmothers, well, no, our great grandmothers free birthed all their babies, and then everybody
Mm.
that obviously free birthed their babies, and it really put into perspective for us, like it's only been two, three generations where women have been having children in the hospital. And, there have been men getting involved that aren't the husband. And, we can go down that rabbit hole, obviously, but it just made sense. Like it was David and I, that made the baby. If we know how to make the baby, then I have a feeling God's going to grant us with the internal wisdom to be able to birth the baby and where we want to and how we see fit, I am so that's kind of how it all started. Honestly, Portal was the catalyst for everything. And I literally tell every person, it doesn't have to be just women that read this book. It needs to be every human on the face of this earth book because it's so profound and it breaks down, even beyond birth and free birth and modern obstetrics. It talks about just like integral things of life that make sense, if you're wanting to live more how we're supposed to with life, with nature, with the rhythms, with the frequencies, everything that you're talking about. Like the book breaks it down. So once we read that book, it was like we were off to the races. We were free birth. That was it. That was the only option was free
That was
birth.
the
So
light switch. You're like, click. And I know that book is on my wish list, and I do follow her. And I feel like she's powerful, super controversial, but there's something very unique for sure about the way she brings it. And you're right, like her experience is like, okay. It's like, but I like what you said to even like, yeah, like can we just even look at the generations? Like I never really thought about that. Like, yeah, what happened before, over industrialization, hospitalization took over, male-centered, like, before that, I was like, oh yeah, they were free birthing, weren't
that's
they?
all they knew was free birth.
Yeah.
Nobody went to a hospital. And honestly, like even beyond that, like in tribal times and in obviously other places in the world now, women go into the woods and birth themselves. All mammals go into dark, quiet places by themselves and birth. It wasn't until, the last 100+ ish years, other people are trying to get involved with the most natural process that is available to man and the reason why we're all here, we just it's been overcomplicated. And just like buying a house, how there's so many steps and people involved. I mean, I don't like to compare birth to that, but it's like, why are there 10 people involved in buying a house? More than just like the two people that made the baby and the baby involved in birth. That's the way I obviously see it, but we need to oversimplify things personally in all areas of life, but especially birth, because The more people involved, the more noise, right? And the more noise there is, that's when, your maternal instinct and your innate intelligence, whatever you want to call it, that's when it gets dimmed. That's when the fear starts to linger in. And that's the biggest factor, honestly, with free birth is just like shutting out the noise, going within, knowing your body and your baby know exactly what to do. And the rest works itself out. It really does.
I love that you say that it works itself out. Yeah, like there's so much, we see this a lot in the culture is like the plan. There's always this plan. And I do feel like hospital births, it is sick care. And I always wondered why there was such a denser energy of sickness and disease. And then there's people giving birth with like what? Mothers having babies next to and I've said it before throughout the more recent years that the hospital, like I hear what you're saying. It's like maybe in some extreme care it'll be needed. It's in the background, but I feel like it is a low frequency. Like, and I don't care if people are like, well, and that's fine. You can have your baby in that environment and build it where you can. There's no judgment, but it seems to be getting more like I wonder if it's getting more of like we're fighting because we're shifting consciously so deeply of like this doesn't make sense. I don't like this. And as I shared in a few other episodes that are coming, one's coming out actually this week, I think, or in the next week. And then in the past is about the just the connection of babies. Like when they're born, there's so much intervention that happens, even when people think there isn't. It's like baby's born, and why does everybody, I actually was awful. I just watched this thing on Instagram, and me and my husband were like holding our breath. They actually had a video. I don't know how she even did it. The baby fell out of the blanket, handing it to the doctor, and they caught it like in midair, and they're just rubbing it in this, and I'm just like,
Well, that's so traumatic.
oh,
That's like
wow. And my husband looked over, he was like, oh, I felt that. We feel it viscerally in our bodies. And something I talk about is with birth psychology is our inner infant. We are there at our own birth. And so I know I do want to keep holding that vision for mothers and fathers to like, yeah, go birth like in the closet. No, go birth in your secret, quiet place and just in the darkness and the quietness and just the listening and yeah, the connection. And it's really beautiful. And when you're in partnership and you're having babies, you get to be there together with each other, touching and your baby gets that first outside world connection. And so I want to know how much you're going to share with us.
I'm an open book. I've been waiting for this
Okay.
opportunity. Like it finally feels right. And yeah, like I just feel after having successfully done a beautiful free birth, people need to know about this. Women need to be empowered and know they can do it and know it is in our biological makeup. We've been programmed to think that we can't do it. And a beacon of light for women to know that they can do it and to feel safe to do it.
Mm.
I think it's just fear that really holds everything back and is what so much of our programming is rooted you know, in so many aspects of our lives is all fear-based.
I want to
And
talk about that. You like reading my mind right now because I'm like, ooh, let's go into the pros and cons in a sense, not in an order, but like, yeah, we all have fear. I feel like we all have fear in birth, hospital, home birth, midwifery, free birth. What did you feel? Like, what was your trigger? What was coming up for you? And how does the people around you feel? Because that's a big one, right?
definitely was a big one. So my mom, I've always been, I've always done things holistically, and my mom was diagnosed with cancer in 2018, and she passed in 2019, and a lot of that time was spent in a hospital. And I was like, I just am anti-hospital. I just spent way too much time in there, and it was the opposite of life, right? It's just dismal. And obviously there's different parts of hospitals, but I'm like, this is no way I'm birthing in a hospital. Um, and they're, oh, well, what if? What if? What
Yeah.
if? Right? Like that's always going to be there. That's that's inevitable. But I spent so much time, and so did my husband, really, really like we did the free birth, the Freebirth module courses or whatnot. Like every night it was our homework. We'd sit, we'd do a module, then we'd do all the things. And I mean, we spent months doing those videos every single night, and they were amazing. You know, I'm also a
Wow.
practitioner, so I had a background in like, taking care of pregnant, but this is a whole new ball game when you are the pregnant woman, right? So of course were aware of, hey, what are the red flags? David knew the red flags, um, and potential reasons why we would need to not be at home and if there needed to be a transfer. So it wasn't like, I'm never gonna do it. I'm like, I'm leaving everything up to God, but I know that everything's going to be all great, And I don't think I would be given this download to have a free birth. Wasn't. That's just how I am. And after losing my mom, I just feel so protected always. That's kind of exchange of losing my mom. It's like now I have the best, most greatest guardian angel, and I know she was with me during birth. And another reason I wanted to do it was because, like, our parents always do the best they can for us, right? But the way I came into the world, knowing what I know now, I didn't want that experience for myself and my daughter. I was born in a hospital, Pitocin, epidural, they used the forceps, got vaccinated, which it's fine. I'm here, I'm alive. My parents raised me like I love them so much, and they did amazing, right? But the goal is, and for Kaya, my daughter, I want her to also do better than David and I have done for her. Like that's the whole point, just to keep empowering the kids, um, and our children's children to keep continuing and leveling up, these new earth children, right? And so it's like, how can I make a little bit of a more of a difference and more positive impact? And I just know how significant the birthing process is on people's lives forever, right? Like, being born in a hospital, there's the lights, there's the touching, there's all the things. And that's just not how we saw what birth was. I'm a firm believer in like birthing where the baby's made. She literally was born on the
Oh,
day
I love
she was
that.
made. And it wasn't, you even said that. You're like, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a water birth. There might be some water, but I think you're going to be on all fours. And sure enough, she
Really? I
we
love
came
that.
on all fours on the bed. We were not in, we chilled in the birthing tub for many, many hours, but it was like, I was like, David, I gotta get up. I gotta go to the bedroom. More on
I
that
love
later.
that. No, but
But
I love that you said that because I always wonder like this inner vision I'm sharing. I'm like, this looks like a real timeline and it's gonna go unfold and yeah, but keep going.
it definitely unfolded, let me tell you. It unfolded. And it was amazing. And, most of our family, like, I would say everybody was supportive. Of course, there were some people who were like the ride or dies, like, I know y'all got this. And then there's some people that are, definitely, I don't want to say maybe freaking out, but, just a little more. They've had their experience. It was mostly women, and bless them. I love all of them so much. They're all, my sisters and everybody in my feminine realm that just like wanted the best for us. And so they shared their opinions, which is totally fine, totally fine. And it wasn't like they were saying no, but they were just had their experiences and their traumas from birth where they were like,
Yes.
they don't want that to happen to us. And um I took that into consideration, but I also was like, this is my journey. This is our path. This is what makes most sense to me and us as a family.
Well, let me
So,
pause you. I love what you're saying again. I'm just like, okay, pause for a second because this I feel like is important to spotlight for people tuning in. Is it is about your journey as a family. I'm saying it again, everybody. It's about your journey as a family because I also was under scrutiny of like, that could be dangerous or this could be this. And I want to teach others to listen. It's like you tell the other person, that's your opinion, that's your feeling, but it's not mine. And then we have to shift the energy that that's their thing. And I know when anyone's coming closer to birth and you do want to go into the cocoon and
mhm.
who comes into the space is very, very important. And I know you were in that space doing that. And I just wanted to spotlight that because people may be like, wait a minute, because you say it with such ease, but I'm sure it brought up stuff, right?
Of course. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
well, what if that happens to me? And then I'm like, Courtney, that's the fear.
Yeah.
That's the noise, that's the fear. What have you been working so hard day in and day out on all the practices, like doing the breath work, the visualizations? I told you in I think our last, maybe one of our calls, I don't know. I was like, I'm visualizing, like I keep every day visualizing the sun's gonna be out, I'm gonna birth her in the tub, and you were just like, I don't know. And it sure wasn't. It was not that. And that's fine. It's beautiful. We have to
It's
be
good.
prepared for the
Yes.
unknown.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
we don't know, but we have to
Yeah.
just like I knew in my heart that it was going to be a free birth. And
Yes.
I had a conversation with a woman yesterday who's now pregnant, and she was wanting to know how my experience was without going to any prenatal visits. And I was like, it was great. I got adjusted. I got acupuncture. I sat in the sunshine. I meditated. I did breath work. I traveled. I grounded. I went swimming. And she was just like, oh, I'm like, it's that simple. My baby is
Wow.
fat and happy and beautiful, like less is more with most things in life, but especially the birthing process. But more to your point about, your journey and what every woman needs, that conversation I had with her, she was like just toying between the idea of she had a lot of other things and doing a VBAC and wanting to birth, but wanting to have a VBAC, but also being a little scared for obvious reasons. And should she get a scheduled C-section? And,
Mm.
I'm free birth, ride or die for me in this body and our family. And I asked her, I'm like, what do you feel most safe doing? And she told me, and I'm like, go with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same as me, but I'm grateful you wanted my opinion, and I'm here to support you, but you have to do what is best for you. You do the research, you read the books, you reach out to who you need to, and you have to birth where you feel safest. And in a hospital is the last place that I feel safe personally, which is why I
And you're
decided to.
not the only one, right? I mean, and
Exactly.
I
And
feel like, yeah, when you share this energy, it's like I believe you. Like you're really sincere and connected to your the way you support others. You're not like do it like how I did it, but remember, it's like but bringing that energy. It's like your frequency bring you yeah, like it just brings it through, and people do feel a sense of it's okay. It's fear. It's a safety in the hospital, but it's still fear. We're just going to name it, but that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. It's like it reminds me of when during my pregnancies, I didn't do like any intervention. And I've publicly talked about this for years. And it's like, what do you mean you're not getting all these tests and things? And I'm like, well, I did one or two here or there. And it was literally because the other person I wanted her midwifery care was like, hey, and then by the second birth, it was great midwife, like awesome team. And she was like, I want you to do this for me. I'm like, well, at least we're being honest. Yeah. Like
You
not for
know,
you, not like you want to know something, because I
right.
feel like I'm okay. And again, I can see why that next level of free birth is like because I had two different kinds of self-care and midwifery, and there was still a little bit too much intervention for me, even though it was super mild.
Mhm.
It's really fascinating. But I know for me too, I have some deep sacral issues and lineage that I was like, I really need a woman in the space with me. Like I really need that because it's just like when my portal opens, it's like I need to be grounded and I don't know how to do it on my own. So I know that works for me. Like I like how you're saying that. It's like there's all these different ways, but tell us more about, yeah, so you're coming into the birth portal and you're feeling things. Like what well, yeah, like lead us into the whole thing and then what comes
Yeah.
next.
Not having had any scans or tests or this or that, is she what position? I'm like, I think she's where she's supposed to be, getting Webster adjusted. I'm feeling her myself. I'm doing all the things, and a lot of trust and faith,
And you kept feeling a she.
yeah, and you even said that too. You
I
even said
did.
so. Um, it was, yeah, what a journey, man, what a
Wow.
journey. But
Yeah.
anyways, I didn't know what to expect. This was my first child, and one night I'm like, David, I think I'm feeling something. He was like, do I need to blow up the birth?
Oh.
This was like 2 weeks prior. And we're living in Charleston, South Carolina. It is so hot and humid here in the summer, like
Really?
hot and
Yeah.
humid. and my body were like balloons. And
Mm.
it was rough. And well, actually, I want to backtrack a little more. We did a whole I've been a sender my whole life. Like, I'm gonna go, we're never, businesses, traveling, all the things, and pregnancy is not gonna stop me. And, I got really humbled. We did an around the world trip when I was 17 to 20 weeks, 21 weeks pregnant for a month. We went from Amsterdam to Spain to Egypt. We went to Greece,
Wow.
we went to China, we went to South Korea, and I was not well. I was not well at
Mm.
all. I was really scared. And it was the one time David and I had been apart. I went to a retreat in on the island of Crete, and I was having serious rib pain under my
Mm.
right ribs, and that's like diagnosis of preeclampsia immediately. And Dr. Google is the worst, even myself as a doctor.
Oh, I know.
And I was just like spiraling. And when we finally got home, I was so exhausted. I took my blood pressure, it was high, and I broke down. I'm like, David, this is scary. And, if you have preeclampsia, then you're immediately seen as high risk and you are also induced early. And I wasn't under the care of any practitioner. And I was like, I'm going to figure this out on my own. So I was in the Freebirth um, like group called Portal that Yolanda's doing. It was like an intensive group of women for like 8 to 12 weeks or something. And I had seen somebody on there talking about preeclampsia and being able to reverse it with the brewer's diet, which is high protein. And so I'm laying down and I'm like, David, go research that. So he comes back and he's like, you're eating all these eggs. So I was eating like 200 plus grams of protein a day
Wow.
and getting rest and hydrating. And within 5 or 6 days, I was like back to normal. It was amazing.
Wow.
And then it was about that when I first had those sensations, or
Hmm.
the Braxton Hicks, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
I don't really like calling it that because it's a man and like he has no idea what it feels like. But um,
I like that.
and David was like, "When was the last time you checked your blood pressure?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's been a while." He's like, "Maybe you should." It's also so hot here. And one
Mm.
of the ways that preeclampsia can present itself is especially with women who live in really hot and humid environments because you get dehydrated. Dehydration causes all the things with your kidneys, and then you have high blood pressure, right? So it's this crazy just path that usually leads you into having a C-section and being under like put you on
Mm.
pressure medication. I was like, this is just not, I'm not doing it. So I checked my blood pressure the next day and it was through the roof. And
Oh.
I am scared. I am scared. And I'm just like at the mercy of God and, just really praying and like, what am I doing? What am I doing? God, show
Mm.
me a sign. And sure, I mean, I was like just shoveling protein, eggs, all the, grass-fed beef, everything, and, getting rest, staying inside as much as like I am
Mm.
the sun goddess, and I couldn't, and I like even if I was outside for 5 minutes, my feet would just get so swollen and I like couldn't walk. It was a whole thing. And at that point I was like, David, I'm not going to a midwife because if I go to a midwife, they're going to direct me straight to an OB and then they're going to put me on high blood pressure medication and then they're going to induce me like immediately and who knows, right? And I told obviously my husband and I told my dad and I was like, we're not telling anybody else and I'm not checking my blood pressure again. And they're
Wow.
both my rocks and they're like, okay. And I just knew I was like, if I keep checking my blood pressure, it's gonna keep going up. Like I know myself. Every
Well, then
time I
it
look
doesn't
at
it
it,
go up if you're panicking to like see,
exactly,
it's like
exactly.
this,
It's this
like,
white coat syndrome like here in my head, and I like looked at something with preeclampsia when all that was going down, and I immediately had this visceral reaction and just like had to run to the bathroom and started puking. And it was like this energetic
wow,
that
yeah.
finally like let go and allowed me to just fully surrender and be like, God, just take the wheel. I know I'm going into the birth portal, like I'm here. It was a long,
Mm.
very long birth portal, which is fine. Um, but that to say, I didn't mean to go on that tangent, but
No, this is
preeclampsia
good.
gets
Yeah.
it gets thrown around so much in the birth world, and so
Yes.
many women have it. And what is it? It's just a
Yeah.
bunch of different symptoms that they clump together and call preeclampsia and tell you that you need to take high blood pressure medication and then have all these interventions, right? And I'm a living testament. I literally have the picture of when my blood pressure was just like I think it was like 179 over like 92 or something crazy like that, and normal is 120 over 80. And I would have like somebody would have taken me to the hospital. And some people might call me negligent, might call me whatever, but I call it like listening to my motherly instinct,
Mm.
because everything you see on the internet and everything, most of the things we're told, it's all based in fear. Like if you Google preeclampsia, you know, organ failure, infant death, mother this, and it's just like, oh my God, I can't read that. I'm just like, I'm not even subjecting myself to that fear and that chaos and that noise because it's going to take away from this beautiful birth that I know is right in front of me.
This is really important because there is a lot of I like that you said chaos. It's like there's a lot of information chaos, and that's what women tap into, mothers. And I remember my first pregnancy and birth, which was a long time ago. At this point, it feels like 14 years. So it was like the energy, like you could not say free birth. I had a friend who I know now who lives local years ago when we lived in California. She unassisted birth is what they called it, and her third like in her like living room, and but it was so like secretive, like she couldn't say anything. People are just so negative about it, but it didn't matter. Like she knew what she was doing, and that being and her connection with her. But she actually shared a little her story. She actually did go to the hospital like a week or two before her daughter was born, and they said we're going to keep you and induce you. And then she was like, 'cause she had a little blood, and I don't know what the fuller story was, but she went, nope, see you later, going home. And then a week later, just had her daughter normally. Nothing was wrong. And it's like, wow, but look what she literally changed a level of like she could have done it there, went into a whole other path, then shifted into just nope, I'm gonna go home and just because there was nothing really wrong. And that's why, like what you say is important. We do have to be self-advocating for ourselves to go, I know what they're saying on the outside, but is it true for you? Because yeah, with preeclampsia is what I've heard in the world of birth. It's so dangerous, danger, danger. That and placenta previa, those are the two, like I hear danger, danger. And are they really true for each woman? And what is the woman's story of healing and working through it? I'm not going to say, hey, if you have full, presentation of Previa and your blood, it's like where our energy really goes and what we're kind of working with. And I've seen women, more closer friends, like go through birth experiences with midwives where they were like, I don't know, maybe we should do it at a hospital and this one woman I'm thinking about was like, you know what? She meditated literally for like 48 hours and went into quiet space to change her blood and chemistry. And after having like, cesarean and then VBAC, and she was able to actually have a home birth, and it was very special and very powerful. Like
Mm,
there's
that's
something when we go, into our own power where there isn't all this like intervention, but again, it's like, yeah, you share something, it just feels so valuable and important. But so yeah, tell me more. We're going into the birth. That sounds scary, but it sounds like world traveler, like that's a lot of energy. And
a
yet,
lot.
when you said that, I was like, well, her energy, your energy, and baby, you're literally just working through all the earth grids.
Yeah,
And there's
totally.
something that you brought, and then you're like, oh, now it's time to anchor down. And it's almost like to me, like you picked up energies in all those spaces. Like we're not,
100.
yeah, and we're not looking at like preeclampsia. Like there's a lot of different theories and energies around it. But like I'm kind of like picking up energy like that with you. It's like you were just collected so much stuff from all around you and into your heart space because it's like blood pressure, heart space. And then
Yeah,
you're like, then you integrate it, you integrate it with fear, right? Or you integrate it with transmutation and you
totally.
transmuted it. And I know that I could hear your energy. It's very, very hard. It wasn't like you were just like, all right, I'm gonna eat eggs and I'm good. You were like, you had to really go into deeper places, right?
Absolutely. And you talk about energies. we went to some like really sacred places. We went
Oh,
to
wow.
pyramids, we went to these temples, we went to the Great Wall of China, but specifically the Karnak Temple in Luxor. We walk in there and I cannot stop sneezing. Like I just like I'm sneezing for like 30 minutes straight. It's the most bizarre thing. So much so that
Oh,
that pain that I was having under my rib, I sprained it from sneezing so bad. And then
wow.
after
That's
that, it was just
wild.
like downhill of me. I couldn't get out of bed for a few days, and
Mm.
it was all these energies I picked up, or
Yes, that's
after I picked
big.
up. I've had readings that told me that I have had past lives in Egypt, and
I was gonna say, I knew you were gonna say that when you were talking. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, she's got past lives there.
yep, yeah,
It's yeah, so it activated some part, and you don't, because remember, it's like our body in this world. It's like, oh, something's happening, but it's interesting that you had that physical like reaction because the energy had to run through you, right? It's like, wow, that's
and it
fascinating.
it did, and it was a wild experience. It was almost a year ago, and I'm just wow, what is
You're
time
still,
on?
you're like still like trying to like ground it in. That could
Yeah,
happen for sure.
100%, So once I worked through all that and I was just started shutting out the world, I told the girls at my office like probably a week and a half ish, 2 weeks. I was like, I'm done. I'm not
Mm.
doing anything. And I shut my phone off. I turned off everything for at least a week before um, giving birth. And we had our call on a Friday with you. And then the next morning, my water started releasing. I was like, oh my gosh, we're here. Yes.
I
And,
know it does feel
and
good.
does, but there's also, this fear that, starts tapping away where if you're not in labor within 24 to 48 hours, you have to get induced. Well, I'm on like Wednesday afternoon and nothing's happening. And I'm like trying to just like stay calm and not freak out and just know that it's okay. I talked to the women in the free birth community that I
That's
knew, and
good. Yeah.
home birthers and people that knew midwives that are like chill with having that long period of time between your waters releasing and when birth like really begins. And I was just like, I'm leaving this up to God. And I also had some dry needling needles that we use at the office, and I just freaking stuck them in acupuncture points that induce
Yeah.
birthing process. And my husband left, and I put my what is it called? My brain tap on, and I had needles like in my legs, and I just sat there and I was meditating. I was like, God, you gotta get this baby out of me. Like, start it, because I was like on that, like,
You
oh
were
my
there.
God.
You were there.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that night is when everything started to happen. My husband like cleared the living room out. He started playing the sound bowls for me. And
Wow.
I'm like, David, I think it's happening. I'm like, and I didn't want to be like super analytical about like, oh, keeping time, because like we wanted to flow with it. But I'm like, they seem like closer together. And then that night was all over the place. I could not, there was no sleep, no sleep at all. So this is Wednesday night going into Thursday, and we're just like riding the birth waves. I'm doing all the things, bouncing on the ball, and just all the things that you do, all the things. And I guess 24 hours pass, and I'm like, this baby's coming out. We have a thing for 11/11. We got married on 11/11/22, and we're like,
Aw.
the baby's gonna be here at 11/11, and like we're both in the bathroom, and I'm like on all fours, and neither one of us like I've never birthed before. He hasn't seen birth, and I'm like, do you see anything? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, he's like, we got 20 minutes till 11/11, and
The
then
pressure's on.
11/11 came. Like, she's not here. We're like, all right, well, I guess just a little bit longer. And then it was, didn't get any sleep that night, just all over the place,
Mm,
just, how birth is. It's crazy. And I don't like using the word pain, but there was definitely a lot of that. Just a lot of breaking old me and, the maiden
yeah.
mother, and I have a track record of having to go through things really just learning the hard way with everything in life. And birth is clearly no different. Like, Birth is different. And so it was beautiful. It was wild. Like David was here for me through and through. It was just
Mm,
amazing. He set up a birth pool in our living room, and I had my birth altar, and I was going from there, the bedroom, her bedroom, guest room, like all over the place, just changing it up. And that was into Friday now. And Friday morning, I was just like, I don't, how much longer is this going to take? Like,
mm,
this is insane. Like, isn't she supposed to be here? Like, what's going on? And, and I wasn't even thinking at that point, is something wrong because I'm so grateful for the women in the free birth community,
mm.
Emily and Yolanda, for really instilling and empowering, especially in those modules that we did, like birth works, just get out of the way. The baby just needs time, you know?
There you
And
go.
I kept like just telling myself that over and over, like, just needs time, just needs time, just needs time. And it was midday on that Friday. So we're probably, 40 hours in to birth. And I don't like using the word labor because I don't want to do physical labor ever. So I just like to call it birth and contractions. Like we're supposed to expand, right? Like
Yeah.
contracting is the opposite of having a child.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
Right?
think about that though, right? Like if we
Yeah.
contract, how is the baby going to get out, right? Like yes, your
Mm.
uterus has to contract, but like your
Hmm.
yoni and the actual portal has to open, not contract. So just even changing the
Yes.
script and the verbiage in my mind from the get-go
Yeah.
was really like helped me like get through everything. And so we were going through it and I was not well. I was not well. I was on the brink of just I was in tears, I was puking, I was, you know, whatever else was coming out, you know how it is. It's just like your body emptying, which is
It sounds pretty normal.
yeah, exactly. It is. It
I mean
is.
that's the thing. I think we'd have to thank Instagram that we actually get to see births now like live and I
Yeah.
they pop in my news feed all the time. And there is and every birth is different, by the way.
Yeah. So I hear.
I was like, you'll see with your second, that baby's gonna pop right out. You're gonna be like, wait, what just happened? You are. You're gonna be like, what just happened? I don't even know. It's not gonna be, but you're in it though. It's like this, baby's still so baby. And you'll see the
Totally.
next, but this is the initiation of her and you, right? It's like,
It was
so
an initiation. It was an initiation of literally, it's the ultimate initiation for us as women, I
yeah.
think,
Oh
from my
yeah.
from my experience, and like every woman has the capacity to free birth because our lineage, all of our lineage has free birth, but it's probably not for everybody because you
Mhm.
got to really do the work and you have to know that you are okay and not flinch. Like there was, I mean, David and I had the conversations of like, I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, what do you
Aw,
want? What can they do for you at the hospital? I'm like, they're gonna give me drugs. And he's like, do you want that? No. Okay. So
nice. Yeah.
let's get through this. And there were many, 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 many hours of that, many hours.
Yeah.
Like it was just the two of us, well, the three of us there, but
Yeah.
um David, we created our like birth team that could just be on call for him to have support. And it was all women. One of them was in California. One of them was
Oh,
actually two of
that's
them were in
nice. That's
California.
helpful.
Yeah, two of my Cairo girlfriends, and then another one close by here, all who had done had natural births and home births. And he called all of them because it was like, I don't know, it's like how much longer is this going to take?
Mm.
Um, and so I will never forget like being in the tub and then going to the bathroom and just sitting on the toilet. And I had back labor the entire
Oh
time.
no, that's the
It,
hard one I
it
hear.
was, oh my gosh. I don't wish that on my worst
No,
enemy.
that's what everybody say. All the mothers I've ever heard say that. I never had that, but I hear that you're like, I'm like, wow, that's a real thing. That's terrible.
Yeah,
I heard. Yeah.
55 hours of back labor. It was, I mean, I don't know, you really find out how strong and how much intestinal
Well, I
cord. have.
Yeah, and I often say to me, like giving birth, we use the word labor. I felt like I had to work out a little bit, not so much, but I said it's kind of like climbing a mountain with a backpack in high altitude. You got to get to that top. You got
That's
to
fair.
get to that top.
Yep.
So then it shows you your strength. I mean, I felt like for me, oh, I could do it and I could do it. And you keep like kind of going. And I know we're so in the moment, so it feels like it's going to be there forever, but it's really not. Like your birth story, like I'm hoping you wrote it all down because as your energy evolves and shifts and change, it's just like your birth story is going to get more faded and it's not going to feel the same,
Totally.
honestly. And we
Well,
can look at I think in all birth stories, there's going to be a lot of intensity and then we can look at that and share that. And then we look at the other part, what like, whoa, this miracle. And it's interesting, but women, I notice they want to share sometimes the negative stuff,
mhm,
right? Or the perceived negativity or, nature, than over like overly positive. But I think that's again comes back to the culture of birth. It's what
absolutely.
our fear and negativity and criticism and self-judgment. For some reason, it's like it's so activated. And then it's like, well, that's just why I think social media is great about it. It's like there are really beautiful stories of intensity. I've cried watching women give birth, like on Instagram.
Oh,
I
same.
didn't even know. I was like, oh, that really hit me. And what an amazing, experience to even me be a witness to it, to like it gave me something healing more than they probably even realize. And
Absolutely.
we do need to see the normalcy of physiological birth and see that
100%.
and see inductions, cesareans, all those other things is my hope and my like energy to the universe is they become so like very like if you really really need it like all the way, but now it's not it's like so it's like I want to see that like really at the ends like where you barely even need it, like how incredible, because all those kind of inductions like they are traumatic births. And you did tap for a moment on your own personal birth. I was like, oh, like that's a whole other podcast. But that does impact who you are, what you do, who you become. And some people can't alchemize it into something the way you did. Some people can't. They stay
Right.
broken and sick, like literally a whole lifetime. So
100.
I want to say that because I don't want to glorify like, but look, I did this, and you worked really hard to get to that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because I know women are maybe tuning in like, oh, well, my baby, and I'm not here to shame like cesarean births, forceps births, but really got to be very conscientious of these interventions because the new earth children, I feel it like they don't want to be born traumatized, but if they do, they'll add it into their lesson in this reality. And the healing does happen on the outside, absolutely. But I do feel like babies do want a start in something that's more grounded and more freeing because when we're giving them trauma in the beginning, they are working through layers of our own family's lineage, actually. And so
100.
in that, but our new earth children, as I say in my book, is they can be more free. They don't have to carry the burdens and layers of who we are. They really don't.
I
They're
love
like a
that.
light force like no other. So you're on all hands and knees. She's
Yeah,
coming.
we
Who's
gotta,
helping? Who's helping her come? Are you putting your hands under there? Is your
I was
David
on the
doing it?
bed. Well,
Yeah.
you, David, he literally has all 55 hours documented. He had yeah, he made me for Christmas. It's like a 2.5 hour documentary of the entire,
Nice.
yeah. So
Yeah. So you got
he,
to visually see it.
yeah, visually
That's
see.
powerful.
It's been
Yes.
amazing. Any woman that's come
Wow.
into our home since having Kaya has gotten to see it, and it's like
Love
tears
it.
every single time. But
Wow.
I feel super, super grateful that I have that, and Kaya has that, that she gets
Yeah,
this
she
into
does.
the world. That's insane. That's crazy.
So I just spoke to a woman the other day and she said she was born, I think in the 90s. She said her mom showed her video of her birth. And I was like, what? I'm like,
Whoa,
that's
that was ahead of the
amazing.
game.
I said, tell me more because I was like, that's really pretty incredible that I kind of sat in this warm place in my heart. Like, what an offering. Because she was at her birth, but then you have a perspective from this and your mom has a different perspective. And
Totally.
I have like a moment where I'm like, somebody get their phone and show me him coming out, my second birth.
That
And I was like, that's me because it looked very intense. And I'm on the birthing stool. But I also was making noises that sounded beautiful. And I was like, I had no idea that I was moaning in this goddess tone. I swear to you, I was like, I didn't even know my voice did that. I didn't know I was doing that. And then
Wow.
when he came free, he was like, here, I had this smile on my face. And I love this story because there's beams of white all around, like these little orbs showed up out of nowhere.
Wow. Oh,
And
I
I'm
got
just, I
bumped
know,
on
and
this.
I'm holding him, like the spirits all came in at that moment. And I bring him up and he's crying, and I'm just this beautiful umbilical cord. And I was just like, I'm so grateful to have that on video. Like
Such a
I really want to influence others. I know you're not, people may not be feeling that in the moment, but even just throw it in the background. And
yeah.
there's something because you're so, we're so in it. We have a different experience, but then you watch it, it's like, wow. And I do think that our children, they should see how they were born. Like instead of it years ago being hidden, in the 70s, they didn't let fathers in the birthing space. Like
It's
what?
my grandpa,
Yeah,
my dad's dad, he didn't see any of his kids born.
no,
6 of them. Like, what? That's
yeah.
just
So it's
different
like I love
times.
that. Well, like those that are like curious or thinking about adding that, it's like do it, do it. So then, okay, continue. We'll go back to your birth. So,
So I'm on the toilet and my girlfriend, when David was talking to her, she was like, does she feel a head? And I'm like, I didn't do any sort of cervical checks, nothing. And I'm like, F it, I'm feeling. So I'm like, David, I feel a head. And
oh
he's like,
yay!
let's go. And so, it was like a couple hours between there. And I was like back in the birth tub. And then it started, I could feel things like slowing down. I was like, I gotta get out. And I was getting cold. And I, like, right when we went into the bedroom, I just like got really hot. And I was like on the toilet and I'm like, okay, now I gotta get on the bed. And I'm just on all fours. I'm like holding on to the headboard. David was like, I thought you were gonna
Wow.
headboard because I was just holding on for
Yeah,
dear life.
yeah.
And I feel like I'm in there for like the last 20 minutes and I mean, I'm calm, There was a couple like moans or here and but like the last few minutes, it's like complete silence. And I can feel her head come out and I'm like, David, is that her head? I'm like, okay, it's all good. And he was like, are you gonna push? And I'm like, no, it's the ring of fire. I can't push. And I just like
Wow.
just breathe and I felt her and then like, her shoulders and then I just like boom and then just came back and put her on
Mhm.
my chest. And I mean, it was insane. It was so magical and beautiful. And, it was just the three of us there and it was just so awesome. It was it brings eyes to think about it and it was so cool because we did it. We were like the first thing we said to each other was like we did it, we did the free birth,
Oh,
and
yay.
it was so awesome. I mean, yeah, all women, like you can do it. And if you have any like a small inkling of whether you can free birth or not, that means you can do it. It's like
Mm.
you got to believe in yourself and you have to believe in birth and your baby and your body. The other day we were in a conversation and it was like kind of between David and I and a group of people. We're like, wait, it needs to be called faith birth. Faith birth,
Mm.
because that's all it is having faith, obviously in a higher power and obviously yourself and your baby, but having that faith is gonna get you through. It is.
Because you're trusting and letting go. That's the faith, right? It's
Yeah.
like the trusting, letting go. You connect with the higher energy. And because then you're not getting overly involved. You're like, here I am. I'm a vessel of light. Let's do this. And that is really hard for people. It's absolutely. And so baby girl is here. You look at her and you're like, there she is. She's like good to go. Like,
She's good. She's good. Like I put her on my chest. She
yeah.
started breastfeeding after like 10 minutes.
Oh,
I put
wow.
the placenta at like I think 40 or 45 minutes afterwards.
Okay.
We did a lotus birth, so she
Oh,
stayed
nice. Yes.
placenta for I think on the fifth day she kicked it off, and then we planted her placenta under a loquat tree in our backyard of like I think at 2 or 3 weeks old or something like that. I made a tincture with the placenta, and she and I will have that forever to use.
Mm.
So we really did everything the free birth way, and obviously like she's not vaccinated. She's going to pediatrician Dr. Mom and I'm not
That's
people
what I
like
say.
Dr. Mom's no more than
Yeah. I always tell people like go to Dr. Mom first.
Yep.
Second is the other moms.
Yep.
I can't even tell you, like, especially with my firstborn, like throughout the years, like the other moms were my doctors. They hooked me up, like, no, Kelly, you want to do this? Whooping cough came around. This is what you want to do, giving me the highest. I was like, oh, that's okay. I was like, cool. Having a tribe is powerful.
Truly.
And then I always say like the next level after Dr. Mom, the other moms would be chiropractor, actually, an acupuncturist. And you're an official like trained doctor. I'm like not, but that's how I like, so I hear you and amazing start to life that she gets to have. And I really appreciate you sharing, especially like, you had some stuff come up. And
Absolutely.
I think that's really important to hear because everybody hears the dreaminess of the birth, but it's like you struggled like massively, like that whole experience, very scary. But then you're working through the energy of it, right? You're kind of looking at it for where you land, not for
Yep.
where other people land. You're not saying, hey, you should go do what I do. And I say that a lot with my own stuff. Like, but we have to sit in this new times of energy we're in. Man, consciousness is like we are saying it's shifting, but I don't know. I'm like, this is massive. Like I'm
Massive.
really seeing that positive timeline of energy. And it's like, wow, it's almost to me feels like a sense of ease. Yes, there's an uneasiness for a lot of people under it, but there's this massive sense of ease. Like, oh, this is what we've been wanting. Like,
Yeah.
let's just, the freedom of birth, the freedom of financial like systems crumbling and medical cares all like restructuring and crumbling. And that it takes certain people to be the pioneers and advocacies of it to actually put it in. And I've been meeting a lot of amazing women, especially and men, in the podcast in the past few years. I feel like that pandemic really rocked the world and really just did stuff where like, oh, there are these other souls coming through and connecting and sharing your energy and even sharing it here. And I want to thank you for coming on Spirit Baby Radio and any final words.
Oh, well, just thank you so much for having me. And, birth is amazing. Free birth is just beyond words. It's the coolest, most radical, awesome thing ever. And I just hope to be a beacon of light for any women that are even considering it. I'm here as a resource. I love working with moms and pregnant ladies. And yeah, thanks for all you do for humanity, Kelly, and for being such an integral part in our birth journey with Kaya and all
Mm.
the ones that will be after her too.
Yeah, I'm so happy because I forgot to say this in the beginning. Once we had a few calls, and then I was like, gosh, I wonder if they'd come on Spirit Baby Radio, and I didn't think you'd come because I was like, I don't want to interfere in the bonding and the baby. And then when we realized, I was so excited. I think I'm not sure, but I think you're probably the fourth, maybe free birth conversation, and so many more to come. So thank you again, Courtney, so much for being here, and
Yeah.
much love to baby and David, of course, too.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
And you can join. You know what? Do you want to share your website and information if people want to reach out to you and connect with you? That would be
Yeah.
great, actually.
For sure. You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Court Yurko. I do a plethora of things. I'm obviously a chiropractor by trade. I take care of pregnant moms and babies in the Charleston area. That's what I'm focusing on now, getting back into I don't want to call it workforce, but the serving force. My husband and I also started a Mezcal company, so you can check that out online. And I also have created a nonprofit called TO Missions where it combines TO Mezcal and Connection Health Center, which is the chiropractic aspect. So take chiropractors and other practitioners down to Oaxaca where our mezcal is made, and we give love to the spines down there. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. We're also launching the TO experience. So if you're not a chiropractor or a healthcare provider, you can come down to Oaxaca and have the whole experience without serving people. But we're going to put you to work in the agave fields and stuff. And like, it's going to be a real cool, authentic experience. And it all goes to support TO Missions, which is giving back to the communities down there in Mexico and also some here in Charleston. So in touch. Love serving humanity, and I just want to keep, this free birth movement going and, empowering women to do so as well. So I work with mamas that are not in Charleston virtually, as they're preparing for birth. What doesn't matter what kind of birth, but I'm there as support, whether it's functional med or, mindset stuff, all the above. I love doing it.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, Courtney, for being here. And I want to thank you all for joining episode 210. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.